Have you ever experienced a slice of time where the world holds its breath, not out of terror, but pure astonishment? What unfolded that twilight wasn't anything I could have braced myself for, not after decades of knowing him inside out. I can still picture the golden rays slanting through the lace curtains, painting fleeting patterns on the oak planks, the distant whir of the ice maker in the kitchen like a secret heartbeat. It masqueraded as just another unremarkable dusk until the ground beneath me tilted forever. Before I draw you deeper into this, pause for a second. Where are you tuning in from this evening? Drop it in the comments. I'd cherish knowing the corners of the world this tale is slipping into tonight. Let me guide you back to that pivotal dusk when the foundations of my reality cracked. Marcus had always been the, gentle sort, reserved in his words, deliberate in his gestures, with a wisdom that seemed woven into his bones. Those qualities echoed his mother, my daughter Clara, who we'd lost too soon to illness years back. I'd watched him evolve from a lanky teen with tousled auburn locks and those piercing hazel eyes that always scanned horizons others missed. Time races on, though, turning the kids you once bandaged knees for into adults whose steady gaze can unsettle your soul just a touch. Thomas and I had shared 39 years of matrimony, a twisting path lined with steadfastness, quiet letdowns, wordless pardons, and endless stretches of the everyday. Ours wasn't a union forged in fire, but one tempered by tenacity. Thomas was the rock, the earner, never one for grand displays of heart. He wasn't harsh, merely remote, like a lighthouse signaling from afar. In the blur of nurturing a family and tending a household, we'd both misplaced the art of simple warmth that July. Thomas mapped out a solo getaway to the mountains, a handful of days with fishing rods, lifelong pals from his millworking days, a flask of bourbon, and a stream he'd last waded as a young buck. I nudged him toward it, insisting it'd refresh his spirit, and truthfully, a sliver of me craved the hush it would bring. Marcus swung by the afternoon Thomas rolled out, unannounced but welcome, just to gauge if the place felt too cavernous without him. He had his own apartment across the river by then, but he claimed the silence might echo too loudly. At 38, he'd blossomed into a commanding figure, solid frame, a voice like rolling gravel over silk, and an innate guardianship that flowed effortless, never contrived. He pitched in shifting crates from the loft, coaxed a stubborn drip from the bathroom tap, and lingered for supper. We dined on the screened lanai, the breeze thick with jasmine and the chorus of crickets weaving through the humid vale. He inquired about my herb patch, the mystery novel I'd devoured under the quilt, and chuckled when I confessed to binging vintage spy thrillers in the wee hours when Thomas snored through the night. There was a quality to his attention that dusk, as if my ramblings were treasures unearthed. I wasn't accustomed to such focus in the grind of routine anymore. Post-meal, I brewed chamomile, and we migrated to the den as the horizon bled into indigo. I caught his stare holding when I stretched for a photo album on the mantel, a beat lingering past casual. "You seem lighter," he murmured, almost to the ether. "More at ease, like you've shed a layer." Heat bloomed across my collarbones, absurd for 65, but undeniable. "Perhaps I have," I answered, a shy curve to my lips. Solitude works wonders sometimes. The following afternoon, he reappeared, claiming a free slot in his schedule, and suggested a jaunt to the village for sandwiches. Refusal didn't cross my mind. I didn't wish it to. We claimed a corner nook in a cozy bistro, where the server knew folks by their coffee orders and the lemonade refills flowed eternal. He probed the fledgling chapters of my life with Thomas, and I spilled more than intended. Whispers of aspirations tucked away, destinations daydreamed but deferred, visions that practicality had long since pruned. "I reckon," he said, tracing the rim of his glass, "you surrendered pieces of yourself that weren't yours to yield." I faltered, gaze lifting. "How so?" "You merited more than anchoring another's world. Someone to truly behold you, to wonder at your days." Words escaped me. No bite laced his tone, no judgment, just a profound compassion, laced with an undercurrent I couldn't name. That eve, he tarried beyond custom. We spun a forgotten cassette of folk tunes, melodies meandering through the rooms like old confidants in the amber haze of the table light. He positioned nearer than protocol might dictate, not overstepping, merely proximate. A lull bloomed in our exchange, one of those organic hushes pregnant with presence, not unease. Our glances intertwined. With deliberate grace, he extended a hand, easing a wayward curl from my temple. The act, so soft, so profoundly personal, stole my air. I remained rooted, neither retreating nor advancing. Not from alarm, but because, in that instant, I transcended labels. No longer merely a mother-in-law, a spouse, a woman etched by seasons. I was beheld. The atmosphere thickened, the once innocent haven now pulsing with the unsaid, like the prelude rumble of distant rain. He uttered no more that night. Rising, he pressed a feather-light kiss to my forehead, reminiscent of boyhood comforts, and departed. I lingered in the afterglow long after his truck faded down the lane, pulse thundering, mind a whirlwind. A spark had kindled, dormant for epochs, and its trajectory eluded me. Yet in my core I sensed the inexorable shift. Dawn broke with an odd ballast in my ribs, not dread precisely, but a knot of expectancy woven with bewilderment. I steeped my Earl Grey, perched at the scarred pine table per habit, yet the cadence of my hours faltered. That graze replayed endlessly, Marcus's knuckles grazing my skin, the earnest glow in his irises, the hush that enveloped us. Such sentiments were forbidden. Not toward him, not beyond the vows I'd honored. But the heart defies reason, slipping through fissures when vigilance wanes. And after eons of muted isolation in a bond that no longer bridged my depths, I'd grown lax as shadows lengthened toward eventide. I'd barely dimpled the sofa cushions amid a pile of linens when raps echoed from the entry. No mystery who it was. Instinct whispered his name. Flinging the portal wide, there he loomed, canvas tote in fist, composure unruffled as ever. Figured you'd skip the solo meal, he grinned. Brought fixings, no debate. A bubble of mirth escaped me. Spot on. Come in. He navigated the galley with proprietor's ease, fetching crockery, laying the cloth. His assured poise soothed, seeking no clearance yet honoring boundaries unspoken. The repast unfolded akin to prior evenings, banter light as air, ripples of amusement. I sensed his regard at intervals, not intrusive, but invigorating, like sunlight piercing overcast. Thereafter, we claimed the parlor once more, twilight draping the space, night breeze whispering through a parted sash. Reminiscences flowed, boyhood escapades, kin outings to the shore, the inaugural trout he'd netted alongside Thomas. Then, in a velvet timbre, he voiced what contracted the universe to our shared breath. You'd clasp my palm through thunderstorms, remember? Made the dark less vast. I met his eyes. Naturally. You were small then, adrift. Small no longer, he replied. The void between us crackled anew. Not insistent, not improper, but electric. I teetered on an abyss unfamiliar, profound. I swallowed, questing for deflection. True enough. You've forged yourself into someone remarkable. His stare held firm. Someone who still cherishes you, even amid the overlooked. My inhale hitched. There it resurfaced, that piercing insight, stripping veneers to murmur truths I'd entombed for ages. Best head out, I breathed, more plea to my reflection than command. He rose, advanced a measured pace, proffering his palm. I traced its lines, pulse a drumbeat, then lifted to his face. Marcus, not demanding the impossible, he assured, tone hushed, measured. Merely reminding you life's pulse is yours to claim, if only briefly. No advance beyond that open gesture. He yielded the reins of decision, and therein lay my unraveling. Tentative, I slipped my fingers into his clasp. Warm, anchoring, echoes of kinship laced with novelty. He neither drew me near nor bridged the gap. He cradled the connection, suspended in quiet communion. Wordlessly, a current bridged us, ineffable beyond utterance. At length, he released, dipped his chin in gentle accord, and slipped away. The latch clicked shut. I haunted the foyer, suspended in timelessness, throat constricted, digits alive with residual heat. Naught had transpired overtly. Yet the cosmos had realigned, succeeding sunrises blurred into errands, market halls, spritzing the ferns, fielding chatter from bridge club acquaintances. Yet reveries wandered. Eyelids drifting shut summoned that clasp anew, that gaze's gravity. Thomas rang midway through his sojourn. Tales of hefty perch, late-night cards, inbox ignored. All smooth at home? He queried. Fine as can be, I assured, the half-truth bitter on my tongue, for my mind wandered to forbidden shores. Marcus's next visit bore a slim volume, proffered sans flourish. Spotted this. It evoked you. The heroine? A mirror to a certain soul I admire. I cradled it, flipping the jacket. A tale of reclamation. A figure emerging from obscurity's shroud. My ribs constricted. He abbreviated the stay. Herbal infusion, sparse exchanges. At threshold, he pivoted. Evelyn, this isn't meant to tangle you, just reclaim your right to desire, to be desired. He melted into obscurity, leaving me framed in the casement, tasting long-lost possibility, the thrill of visibility. A momentum gathered not solely twixt us, but in my marrow. Dawn unfurled mundane, yet I brimmed altered. A subtle vibration underscored each act, combing my waves, dicing nectarines for dawn's repast, avian trills beyond the pain. I floated buoyant yet burdened, torn yet vivified. His utterance haunted my vigil. You're still allowed to be wanted. None had voiced such in an age, not Thomas, least of all, whose affections had ebbed to embers long cooled, not from rupture but erosion, the stealthy creep of habit and reticence. Youth with Thomas brimmed caresses, a tapestry of regard, but it frayed incrementally, not in tempest but the doldrum's tide. I'd scarcely noted the void of notice till one voice pierced it. Marcus forbore outreach that morn, no chime, no missive, yet I patrolled the device, peered through drapes, attuned to his engine's growl. Midday restlessness propelled me, a promenade through leaf-dappled lanes, skirting the patisserie's allure, meandering the green where he'd once pedaled carefree. Locale brimmed with his imprint, not the youth, but the man, timbre resonant, poise unyielding, regard elevating me beyond roles, homeward. A crisp vellum peeked from beneath the jam, my script in his looping hand. Pulse faltered, enclosed terse strokes. A facet of you slumbers overlooked. If faith guides, join me at the boathouse. No strings, solitude shared. Till gloaming claims the sky. The boathouse nestled 30 minutes hence, a humble riverside nook Thomas's kin had bequeathed. Neglected these 4 winters past, I pondered the summons eternally. Then, to the vanity, appraising creases framing my gaze, the graceful arc of my throat, frost-kissed strands amid the chestnut. No ingenue lingered, yet obscurity evaded me. Not in his sight, what spurred keys to fist? Whimsy, perchance. Or recall of spontaneity's spark, the uncharted thrill, the ribbon of asphalt twisted contemplative, mind a tempest. I eased to a halt by the crushed shell drive. The river gleamed under westering light, amber veils dancing on ripples. The structure slumbered, expectant. He perched on the planking, forearms braced on shins, lost in the flow's murmur. Swiveling at my crunch, his grin dawned. Modest, genuine, unadorned. You ventured, he breathed, a nod. Your summons held sway. He unfolded, closing distance languid. Doubted you'd heed. Wouldn't fault you, beyond him, Waters whispered. Nearly turned tail. But here you stand, he coaxed, yielding the way to the veranda. Gathered a bit. Thought the view might soothe. Within, order reigned. Cedar tang mingling with aged timber. Upon the trestle, modest bounty, berries, wedges of brie, a chilled rosé breathing. We eased into wicker seats edging the dock, river's lullaby our sole chorus, warblers' calls, zephyrs' sighing boughs. At last he pivoted. No need for speech. Craved your company, unmarred by clamor. Marcus, I ventured, but he forestalled, tender. Complexity acknowledged, optics be damned. No designs to coerce or shatter. Merely to unveil my truth. Leaning in, timbre grave, this stirred seasons past. Beyond mere pull, your grace in motion, empathy's depth. The haven you've carved for souls while yours starved. His candor dismantled defenses. Earnest, unvarnished, devoid of demand. You revive me, he confessed. Air flows freer in your orbit, throat bobbed. Constriction gripped. Unforeseen avowal, unforeseen tide within, sorrow for squandered yesteryears, hope's tentative bloom. Age gaps loom, I faltered. Swift glance. Age? You're luminous, insightful, an anchor granting sanctuary, hush enfolded, fractured by wavelets' caress. Visibility eludes me, I confided, scarce above breath. Unsure how to wield it, presence suffices, he soothed. Here, unburdened. Extended digits grazed my knuckles, ephemeral, awakening dormant nerves from slumber. I held unmoving. He withdrew. This haven? A blank slate, no legacies, no mandates. Us, unadorned. As orb sank, painting heaven's crimson and sapphire, an inner portal creaked ajar. Echoes of self-prior, pre-parentage, pre-subsumption in others' orbits. Palm upturned, I entwined our fingers. No vow, no oath, merely now. Yet instants reshape realms. We lingered, horizon ablaze, and I surrendered to the marvel. Election not from duty, but delight. Sleepless vigil followed my return. Chambers hush transformed, electric with veiled exchanges, stolen peaks, bared souls. Ceilings dance of fan blades mesmerized, yet yearning stirred. Not carnal clamor, but communion profound. Discernment, resonance, the balm of being unraveled tenderly. It transcended flesh. It was his lens rendering me vital, worthy of pursuit. Aurora chased busyness, burnishing heirloom candlesticks, reshuffling tomes in alcoves dusty. Distractions availed naught. His essence infiltrated insistent glow. Thomas's homecoming loomed at Morrow's edge. I scripted the charade, pleasantries, averted depths, the choreography of complacency. Routine's harbor beckoned, yet I balanced precipice, appraising a existence once deemed ample. Dusk neared. Marcus materialized, bypassing summons, sentinel at the stoop till I bid entry. Weariness etched him, not fatigue, but restraint's toll. Kitchen's aroma, roast lamb's savor, clung as we converged amid tiles. Aware he's inbound soon, he intoned, subdued, affirmation. Threads fray here, yet I sought closure. Unspoken lingered, lump rose. Speak, proximity bloomed. Timbre anchored, no void propelled this. No whim for fleeting knots. You dwelled in me unspoken, eon's air awareness dawned. Prickling weld, not woe, but his valor's blaze raw offering. You've thawed me, I murmured. Humanity's warmth after frostbitten years? Nod. Suffice to know reciprocity. He wheeled toward egress, but my murmur halted. Marcus. Halt. Query and gaze. Tomorrow's veil unclear, perchance not endures, but heed. I mirrored every syllable graze. No illusion, inhale deep, unburdening. Then we pause enriched, he avowed. Even halted it endures. He yielded the night, honoring promised liberty. That vigil I penned to my essence, not to Thomas, not Marcus, solely Evelyn. I chronicled the sentinel I'd wrought, resilient, taciturn pillar, and the dreamer interred, inquisitive, ardent, buoyant. Truth unfurled. Duality merited harmony, craving amplification permissible at 65, rekindling sanctioned. Thomas's arrival knit domestic weave anew, dawn brews, radio murmurs, evensong at 7. Yet metamorphosis hummed within. Marcus absented seasons. Reproach absented. Distance healed, yet his void's pang affirmed vitality. No numbness cloaked me. Awakening persisted. Autumn waned to umber, zephyrs sharpening, when happenstance reunited us, his sedan in the co-op's lot. Amid citrus pyramids, stairs bridged aisles. His curve, subtle, intimate, laden with accord. In that beam, certainty crystallized. Absent reprise at boathouse seclusion, transformation etched indelible. I'd tasted authenticity, sanctity, irrevocable, no notoriety stained it. No folly, humanity's quiet hymn, self-worth reclaimed through another's gaze. And oft such suffices, but life, ever the weaver, threaded more. Months swelled. Frost etched panes, hearth fires crackled against encroaching chill. Thomas buried deeper in ledgers from the warehouse, his world a ledger of quotas and quiet suppers. I, though, carried Marcus's ember, a private luminescence guiding solitary rambles. Fueling midnight journals where I sketched futures uncharted, a class in watercolors at the community hall, letters to kin abroad, perhaps a pilgrimage to the canyons Clara once romanticized. One eve, as sleet tapped rhythms on the roof, the bell tolled. Thomas slumbered early, flu's grip lingering. I patted to answer, half expecting solicitor's drone. Instead, Marcus filled the frame, snowflakes melting in his hair, a thermos clutched like talisman. Couldn't shake the pull, he admitted, breath clouding. Brought cocoa, spiked if you're game. No expectations. I ushered him to the mudroom away from creaking boards. We leaned against the wall, steam rising between us, trading whispers of winters past, Clara's snow angels, Thomas's botched igloo attempts. Laughter bubbled, soft, then stilled. I've missed this, he said, eyes tracing frost-laced glass. Not just you, the ease of being real. Me too, I confessed, unguarded. You've unlocked doors I bolted shut. He set the mug aside, palm hovering near mine. And if we keep them ajar? Discreetly. No shattering worlds, just stolen breaths when the night allows. Temptation warred with wisdom. Thomas's snores drifted faint. Loyalty's chain tugged. Yet the woman reborn, the one who'd tasted river's gleam, fingers laced in twilight, yearned to breathe free. Not tonight, I decided, voice steady. But soon. A walk in the woods come spring. Letters till then? We redefine on our terms, relief softened his features. Spring it is. Letters sound like poetry. He departed into the flurry, silhouette fading like a dream's edge. I returned to bed, Thomas's form a familiar outline, but my thoughts soared, to Marcus's script awaiting dawn's post, to paths untrod. Spring arrived verdant, insistent. Buds unfurled as our first missive crossed thresholds. His, recounting a dawn hike where river mirrored my eyes. Mine verses on awakening's ache. Envelopes multiplied, bridges over chasms. Our inaugural woodland stroll dawned misty, ferns carpeting earth like emerald rugs. We traced deer trails, pausing at a glade where wild violets nodded. No haste. Words wove slow, unveiling layers. His grief for Clara's absence, my regrets over dreams deferred, shared visions of lives reimagined. At a fallen log's throne, he traced my palm's lines. This, us, it's not theft. It's reclamation. I leaned into his shoulder, world shrinking to birdsong and pulse. Then let's claim it gently,